onto Cumberland Avenue toward US 441 South.
If you like your cameras like you like your whiskey, cheap, then I've got the video for you. It's as shiny as Elvis's G-string, and it's as plasticky as Pamela Anderson's action figure. Today we have the Lomography Simple Use Camera. Welcome back to YouTube. It's an internet webpage where people get together and share videos and argue with one another. Today I'm gonna take this camera out and I'm gonna take some pictures on it, and you guys are gonna leave me some comments about how those pictures are not very good, because that's the kind of toxic relationship we have here on this channel. So I got bored and I went to the nearest major metropolitan area to me over here in Eastern Kentucky, which is Knoxville, Tennessee. Before we get going though and taking some pictures, just a couple things about this camera. First thing we should probably address is the build quality. Being a $25 camera, the build quality is extremely high. That is to say, if you think the prizes from Chuck E. Cheese are extremely well built. Like I said, it's $25, it's made completely of plastic. The lenses are plastic, the body is plastic, the aesthetic here is a sticker. And while I'm not gonna say that it's extremely well built, it is what it is. It's a disposable. Let's call it a spicy disposable. Like for an actual camera, it's pretty crappy, but for a disposable, kind of slaps. I mean, have you ever even used Kodak and Fuji's disposables? They are terrible. I got the one with Lomochrome purple because I liked the aesthetic of the sticker that was on this one. It's this reflective purple chrome situation. And also, for my money, it's as close as we can reasonably get to Kodak Aerochrome. Looks really nice. It's like you're looking at the world through the body of a Ditto, you know, because it's transparent. Never mind, I'm an annoying person. Well, they call this the Purple Saturday edition. In fact, it says it right there on the sticker, Saturday. But I actually tried it on a Wednesday, it worked just fine. Sorry, that's a dad joke. If you read the literature on the website, this particular version of the camera is marketed to disco divas and weekend warriors. I don't know exactly which of those categories I fall into, but if you're like a banker or an accountant, this camera's not for you, can't use it. I guess that's because of the finish of the camera. It's this reflective chrome, which, I mean, honestly, I think it looks dope, and also like it's made out of the same stuff that UFOs are probably made from. This is also Lomography's first oxymoronic camera, as it's reusable, and it's a single use. So I guess it leaves you in a point, it's like an existential crisis, right? Do I throw it away or do I keep it? I think this is just a very creative marketing ploy by Lomography to get you to lower your expectations, you know, really, really lower those expectations when it comes to image quality. If we call it a real camera, people are not gonna be happy with the pictures that we take. Lomography, simple use. We know you're not a Leica M6, just be yourself. We love you just the way you are. So getting into the pictures and the footage here, I got to Knoxville and I parked on the top floor of the parking garage. This is a move that I typically do. This is because it allows me nice shots of the city. One thing to note about this trip, Knoxville, Tennessee is not a place you typically associate with much winter weather, but I will note for the record that it was extremely cold on the day that I was there, which made things all completely miserable. When I say extremely cold, it was like 20 with a wind chills. Anyway, I made my way down from the garage and snapped a few shots of the Tennessean Theater as I went by. It's an awesome old building, and I would have just loved to have gotten a shot with a classic car, a nice old Mercedes or an old Chevrolet or something in front of it, but it wouldn't have really mattered all that much because the lens on this camera is not super wide. I took this shot as I walked across town. Unbeknownst to myself, because I don't have great navigational skills, I was headed towards the convention center downtown, and also the park. As soon as you pull into Knoxville, you can see it from almost all over the city. There's this giant gold ball featured very prominently in the park. Well, I mean, if I wasn't shooting Barney's favorite film, it would be gold. Anyway, they call this thing the Sun Sphere, and it was built for the 1982 World's Fair, which was apparently held in Knoxville. I like to imagine the World's Fair as a little bit like a Renaissance fair, you know, with fair maidens and lots of jousting. I think it's super cool. Anyway, I really like the symmetry of these stairs. I thought that made for a cool shot. But you know what really would have elevated this picture is if I hadn't had my fat friggin' finger in the shot. That would have been super cool. When looking for spots to take super cute selfies, I found the most extravagant flight of stairs that I've ever seen. When I meandered back into town, I noticed that the sun was starting to drop a little bit. I thought this would be a good time to see how the precision optics of the Lomography simple use fared when shot into the sunlight. Well, to be honest, the lens in this camera offers about as much resistance to the sun as a thong bikini. Not that I know anything about that. And when you look through this camera's viewfinder, which may more accurately be described as a bay window for an amoeba, it's really hard to see. But, I mean, it's a $20 camera, and nowhere is that more evident than with the viewfinder. And I was super cool right there. I had these little, these little films pulled over the viewfinder instead of the flash. So the camera also has a flash. I didn't use it because I didn't really see any point. I was shooting in broad daylight. I kept walking through the city. The sun continued to drop, which made shooting rather difficult. Lots of contrast. And to be honest, when you got in the alleys, stuff was just getting really, really dark. But all that's to say, shooting was getting a little more difficult. Well, actually, as I was out doing it, shooting wasn't getting more difficult because there was nothing to control, right? The beauty of one of these little point-and-shoot cameras is that I guess there are two buttons, right? There's the shutter button, and then there's also the flash button. So you can charge your flash, and then you can push the shutter, right? Not a lot of things to control. So even though the shooting conditions were difficult, you wouldn't have known it by using the camera because the camera won't let you control any of it. And with the Lomography's simple uses, blazingly fast f9 lens, it made the photos well. I'll let you guys be the judge. And as the sun continued to sink lower and lower and lower, against my better judgment, I kept shooting into it. Let's don't kid ourselves here. I mean, you can really see the image quality falling apart with each shot. And some of this can be attributed to the film, which is the Lomography Purple. The Lomography Purple film was as grainy as an early 2000s security camera to begin with, but I don't think the camera and the lens were doing it much favors either. So, due to the fact that I was freezing to death and almost out of shots on the camera, I started moving back towards the car. And to spot it all, it was a really good day of shooting. I think I got some nice stuff. I finished up down by the river. So I guess the question is here, should you use one of these cameras? I think a film camera like this sits in the kind of strange, weird world of the Fuji Instax camera. If you've not watched the video, I have very strong opinions about the Fuji Instax camera. That's not to say it's useless, it's just kind of a unique kind of camera. This camera is really small and super fun, and to be honest with you, a blast to shoot. I had a really good time taking it out and shooting it. And to be fair, got some pretty decent results with it. The camera and the lens combo, shot in broad daylight, don't leave a lot to be desired. Pretty good quality images out of it. Low light, obviously things fall apart with the f9 lens. The image quality is great. Considering the fact that this thing has a plastic lens, it's not the sharpest lens in the world. I mean, we didn't expect it to be, but it really isn't bad. I mean, I don't think the person that's using this camera will ultimately be comparing it to the Nikon FM2 that's back on my shelf. The images you're going to get out of this little camera are going to significantly exceed the quality that you would get out of a Fuji Instax camera, and that's where I think the more appropriate comparison comes in. This is a casual camera that a beginning photographer is going to want to use. Like I pointed out earlier in the video, there aren't any settings, there's nothing to control, so I think that is going to lend itself to a very casual, easygoing shooting experience that puts it right in the realm of the Fuji Instax. Comparing the images between the Lomography simple use and the Instax camera, the Lomography camera absolutely destroys the Instax. These are much higher quality images, 35mm film, just beats the pants off of. Even with the grainy Lomography film, it beats the pants off of an Instax. So this would be my recommendation if you're looking for image quality. It's also worth noting that per shot, this is much cheaper. This is $25 for 27 shots. It's a really weird, oddly specific amount of shots that are on each roll of film that comes with this camera. And of course, it is reloadable. You can put your own film in there as well. But per shot, this is very cheap. You can go to Walmart and buy Fuji Superior film and load into the bottom of this thing. So I mean, you're going to be getting significantly more shots with this camera per percent than you would be getting with the Fuji Instax as well. So it's more affordable. So better image quality, more affordable. And for my money, if you want an easy pathway into film, this is probably a pretty good place to be. The camera that I had came with a roll of Lomography purple film. That was by choice. There are 3 versions of this camera. There's the purple one, the Metropolis one. I've got a video on Lomography Metropolis film that I'll link here. There's also just a color negative film, which offers a more traditional look. Now, those are a lot of the really good things about this camera. It should be very clear by this point, there are some real significant limitations to this camera as well. Like, at nighttime, it's just about as useful as a bottle of sunscreen. And also, the overall build quality of this camera is not as good as a Gigapet. But at the end of the day, though, this camera is really fun and would make an amazing place to get your foot in the door with film photography at a really inexpensive price. And honestly, I can't recommend it enough. It was one of my most satisfying days of shooting that I've had in recent history. I'm absolutely going to keep using this camera. I've already got some really cool ideas for video projects. I want to get my daughter to shoot a roll of film on it and see how she likes it, but I'll let you guys know how the camera holds up in subsequent reviews. So if you want to get your own Lomography simple use Daddy-O, you can click the Amazon link in the description of this video. I've been trying to do better about putting links in the description. Not because I love Amazon, but because you love me and you want to help me fulfill my dream of becoming an oligarch. I'll love each of you, every single person that's watching this video. I love you, and thank you guys so much for watching. And we'll catch you guys next time. See ya!